Live here in studios, Congressman Jim Himes, Democrat of Connecticut. He is the ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee, which is always important, but days like this, it's crazy important. Congressman, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you, Rachel.
Do you think that President Biden's personal plans to visit Israel the day after tomorrow are indicative that there has been some sort of major breakthrough that he wants to be there to take credit for? Or is him going there something that will hopefully shake loose those kinds of diplomatic advances that we haven't yet seen?
I don't think there's anything to celebrate just yet. And based on the contact I've had over the course of the last week or so at the White House and, State Department and elsewhere, I think what this is largely about is just indicating his personal and the United States' commitment to keeping this war from getting regional, from getting bigger. Two carrier strike groups in the region, the movement of a couple of air wings, and the president of the United States visiting not just Israel. And by the way, if you saw his statement today, visiting Israel to support Israel as we do, but also saying there's a huge difference between Palestinians, especially innocent Palestinians, and Hamas, but also going to Jordan, also going to Egypt. That says to Iran, it says to Hezbollah, it says to, terrorist elements in the West Bank, don't do it. And that's really critical.
Absent that kind of full court press that you're describing, political, diplomatic, military, from the United States, do you think that we would be at real risk of a regional conflict?
Very much so. Very much so. No, and it's not even close to a done deal yet, right? And this is one of the reasons, apart from the moral reasons for encouraging the Israelis to be very careful, abide by the laws of armed conflict, et cetera, in Gaza, apart from the important moral reasons, Hezbollah faces politics, too. And if the images coming out of Gaza of a military operation were as brutal as Hamas would like them to be, Hezbollah might feel like they've got no choice but to jump in. And today, if that happened, it would be very, very bad. Had that happened a week ago when Israel was caught on the back feet, it could have been a true crisis for the state of Israel.
What about our allies in the region? Countries like Jordan, where the president's going to be visiting. The issue of leverage and diplomatic skill when it comes to nations like Qatar trying to intervene in the hostage issue. Those thorny questions that I was just discussing with Eamon about Egypt and its own interests in the Sinai Peninsula, the crossing with Gaza, what it's being asked to do, what it feels like it can do. What do you make of our diplomatic effort right now, how much effort's being done there, and what else could be done that hasn't already happened?
Yeah, well, apart from what we were just talking about, trying to keep it from the conflict from widening, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, these are rulers who very much worry about their own heads. And right now they're thinking, our street. And this is certainly true of the King of Jordan. It's true in Egypt, where they have massive economic problems to begin with. Saudi Arabia is a little different case. They're worried about their own survival. And so they, too, have an interest in this conflict not widening. They also have an interest, and this is why so many of them released statements that were, pretty aggressively, uncomfortably, shall we say, pro-Palestinian. By that, I mean, no problem being pro-Palestinian, but pro-Hamas takes us to a whole other world. They really worry about their own survival.
In terms of what the U.S. response can be, we expect that there'll be an emergency aid request for Israel. Obviously, nothing goes through the United States House when there is no United States House. Do you think that the Republicans are going to elect Jim Jordan, to be the Speaker of the House tomorrow?
It has been, for many reasons, been a difficult day, but I just never imagined we'd be at a point where we were talking about a Speaker, Jim Jordan. And I'll come back to your question, but I mean, I think nobody did more to justify and to back and to paper over not just Trump's misbehavior, not a good idea to tell Zelensky that you're not sending military aid unless he gives him dirt on the Bidens, right? But also after January 6th. I mean, he refused a congressional subpoena of a commission that was trying to figure out how big the plan was to stop the peaceful transfer of power. And Jim Jordan was right in the mix of that. Back to your question, the White House is, I think, at least when I heard a couple of days ago, they are going to submit a package to the Congress that will involve both Ukraine aid and aid for Israel. That's going to make an awful lot of Republicans pretty angry, but I know that my party and the Senate, both sides of the aisle, care a lot about doing both. So I think you're going to see that from the White House to the Senate. And then, if we just happen to stumble upon a Speaker of the House, maybe we take it up, too.
Wow. I can't believe that this is the hand we have to play at this exact moment. It had to be now, right?